And welcome to another edition of South Texas Crossfire. This is Attorney Joe Flores reminding you to join us each and every week right here on KTMV with the Lopez family. Special thanks to Don Alberto Lozano Lopez and my good friend Carlos Lopez, who have always supported, whether you're Republican, Democrat, or in between, they've always been there to bring on the people that become our leaders and those that try to become our leaders. And politics is a full contact sport around here. So with me today, I have had somebody who has served all of his life in one way or another for our people here in South Texas, and he is already one of my favorites. He's a former Ray Texan. Well, he's always going to be a Ray Texan. And my daughter goes there, so she's a cheerleader, so he's already on my good side this morning. So I welcome our mayor, and that is Mayor Joe McComb. Welcome, my friend.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm glad to know your daughter's a Ray Texan.
Yes, sir. She's loving every minute of it, and it was an eye-opener compared to IWA. You know, I told her we're putting you in general population now, so. Yeah, you know, people might say, you know, I always tell people I didn't get too far in life because I stayed here in South Texas, you know, because I love it, you know. But
it's a great place.
It's a great place. So tell us what's going on. People hear my voice too much. I want to hear what's been going on with the city and what your hopes and dreams are. But let's start out once again, your training, education, background. Let people know about you.
Well, I went all through the public school system here in Corpus Christi. I started my venture at Memorial Hospital. I was born in Memorial Hospital and went through all the public schools here. My mother was a public school teacher. And if you've got a teacher for a mother, you pay attention to school. We had a good time in school, but we paid attention. Education was important to her. And graduated from W.B. Ray in 1965, and then went to Del Mar for a year, and then went off to Stephen F. Austin State University in Nacogdoches, Texas. And one of the requirements, you had to learn to spell Nacogdoches in order to graduate.
It's tough.
So I was able to figure that out over the 4 years, and I got out of there, and then I came back to get involved in a family business that my father had started in 1940. And despite everything I've done, it's still operating, and I've got my son Jonathan in the business with me, so I guess if I was able to keep it going, he'll be able to keep it going. And so, but we've been serving Corpus Christi in the moving and storage business all that time. And the good part about it is you don't make a lot of money, but you do have a lot of flexibility in your time schedules. And then the other real passion is helping people and working with people and trying to do something positive. And so politics seemed to be kind of an interesting thing for me. And I got involved in the city council back in the middle 80s and served there for 8 years, and then a few years later got on the county commissioner's court and have served there for a combined total of 12 years. And then just recently the opportunity presented itself to get back on the council on the at-large race. I didn't really have any intention of being the mayor, but you know, I got elected in the at-large, and then 37 days later the new mayor that got elected resigned, and that created a whole new opportunity. So I ran for mayor, and here I am.
Politics is strange.
It's strange, very strange.
Well, we always, and Carlos and I say this, and we mean it, we always put God first on our station, and I don't care who disagrees with that, because, you know, we've got to spread the word in our own way. But you yourself have been very active in your church,
right,
which is one of the biggest churches here in town. Can you tell us about your activities there and what you all do to help the youth and all the wonderful projects? I see you all are expanding the church too. It's getting big.
Well, we, you know, at First Baptist Church, I was brought up in that church, and that really is, you know, where I guess the basis for my actions is my commitment to the Lord and the calling to do good for other folks. That's just something I've been exposed to all of my life.
Amen.
And so but the church is very, very active. We've got a street ministry where we go out I think it's on Thursday nights to provide food for those that are homeless and out on the streets, which it's a good thing, but it also is it's a reminder that we really got to do more than just feed a person a meal. We've got to figure out some way to get these folks in a permanent residence and get them a job, and if they need mental or physical help from some type of issues they're having, we need to really pursue to try to do that, because you just can't continue to feed them on the street year in and year out. So that's really, it's a challenge, and it's a challenge for people all across America. I've seen they're doing more and more stories on homeless and what the real problems are, and the people that are afflicted with either mental or drug issues that need more than just a meal. I mean, they need the meal to stay alive, but they really need more attention, and churches need to really step up and do a whole lot more than they've done in the past. I think they've relied too much on government, and I can tell you, government's not going to solve all your problems.
Well, you read my mind. If the government could throw money at it, but it comes down to grassroots.
Right. Well, if money would solve the problem, it would be solved. I mean, there's probably not a figure big enough to count the amount of money that all of the governments combined have thrown at this problem. But you've got to change your mind and you've got to change your heart. And I think that's the only way you're going to solve the problem. Money's not going to solve the problem.
Well, my producer and director here, Diamond Dave, who's behind the camera, does the very same thing. They help out the homeless, and he expresses the same sentiments. And I've helped Metro Ministries and done all that. But you know, my wife always says, never know what let the right hand know what the left hand's doing. Don't beat your chest and say I do this and I help. Deeds aren't going to get you into heaven. You know. I'm just praying that I, get on the lotto and get in. But, but anyway, you know, the same thing applies, I think, to everything with big government. Here in the city, what kind of problems are? I mean, you've been a veteran since the '80s of the political machine here, but also service. So, as mayor, tell us some of the problems that you're encountering and how you're tackling them.
Well, right now the big issues that we have on the city is that for a number of years, for whatever reason, the slowdown in the economy, a number of years back, we've let a lot of the infrastructure kind of just deteriorate, and we're really working as quickly as we can to address our infrastructure, our water lines, our wastewater lines, our stormwater lines, our streets, to try to get them caught up, because it's all aging, and it has those kind of facilities haven't, they don't have a perpetual life. They've got a time period, and so some of these pipes that we've been using have been in the ground 80, 70, 60 years, and because of our soils and this sort of thing, there's movement, and they've got cracks, and they're deteriorating. So we're in the process, and that's why many of our street projects, particularly on our arterial and collectors, our Staples, our Webers, our Everhart, our Leopard, whatever they're doing, is that we're not just fixing the streets. When we got those torn up, we're going in there and replacing and repairing all the unseen infrastructure that we have, and that just takes a little time. And on some of the street projects, they start to do their work, and lo and behold, they dig down a foot or two, and they find an old railroad track that was run through there. So that's a problem they didn't know when they started.
Really?
Well, we used to have the trolleys or whatever it was that would run on tracks around town. I mean, I'm not familiar with how many streets we have that, but I think one the other day that I recall, they said somewhere on Leopard Street they had some trolley tracks, and they got down there and they ran into that. So you've got to get those out of the way to deal with the infrastructure. So, but that's why some of the major street projects take so long. But we are making an effort to get on it. And then, of course, the big challenge is our residential streets. They really do need to have a lot of work done on them, and we're trying to do that. This last year, it's a mixed blessing. We've had a lot of rain this last year. Lake Corpus Christi's full, Choke Canyon's over 50%. That doesn't happen very often. Lake Texana and our other water supplies, they're all got good, adequate water. So we're golden on water supply right now. That doesn't mean we got to continue for the future. We're going to go through another drought cycle. We just don't know when, but we got to be prepared for that. But right now, water. But that rain also creates havoc on our streets. When you've got small potholes and you get some rain, and traffic keeps going over, they just keep wearing those. They hit those holes, just make them a little bigger every time you hit them. And so they're filling throughout the city somewhere between 1,000 and 1,500 potholes a day. And that's a lot of potholes. But we're working on it. We've got a plan. The voters approved, fortunately, and I think that's an indication that they've got some confidence in this council. In 2016, they approved levying up to 6 cents that is totally dedicated to residential streets. 2 cents on the tax roll, on the tax rate, but we couldn't impose any more than 2 cents in any one tax year. So we approved it in 16. In 17, we didn't impose that tax because we had Harvey, and in 18 we did put the first 2 cents in there for the residential streets. So we're beginning to accumulate some funds to address our residential streets. And then obviously what's going to change the whole dynamic of the town is the new Harbor Bridge coming in.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's just, to me, I love to see things being made, and I watched on television, they've got these shows, monster projects, engineering projects, and these sort of things. It's fascinating. I don't have that talent or that skill about how you do this, but it's kind of fun to be able to see just all of a sudden things just appear that are tied to the bridge, and in my mind I'm trying to think, how is this all going to connect? And at some point it will, but I can't have that figured out. When I first served on the council, I was with Betty Turner, and
wonderful lady.
She had a picture and she gave to us, and it was a picture back in the early times of America, somebody's rendering of their thought, and when they were building railroads all across America. And the picture was, and the bottom of it, the caption of the picture was working together, and it showed where the two railroads, I guess, coming from the East Coast to the West Coast were joined, and the tracks were like this.
Oh, wow.
They didn't quite communicate they didn't tie in right like they were supposed to. So I think the importance of that was, working together, we can make things connect, and that's what we're trying to do now. But the Harbor Bridge is going to be a fascinating change, and to just try to imagine that the height or the bottom of that new bridge is going to be as high as the Napoleon's hat on our current Harbor Bridge. So that's another couple of 100 feet higher than what our bridge is.
Amazing.
And it's going to allow, obviously, for larger ships to come in and out of the port, which is just exploding right now with development and investment, and really just making Corpus Christi a bigger place on the map than it's been in the past. But it's a good thing that presents a lot of challenges. We've got to try to ramp up however we can, either through streamlining some of our development rules and regulations for housing, because we're behind on housing to meet the new demand that's coming in to work in these new facilities that are being built in Corpus Christi and Nueces County, as well as San Patricio County. So we've got some challenges. We've got some committee council members that are committed to meeting those challenges, and beginning on Monday, we have a new city manager that everybody is really excited about, coming from San Antonio. And so we're going to pick his brain. San Antonio obviously has been very successful, and he worked for a city manager there for 8 years that, from what I've been told, was brilliant and was very good, and didn't, as they say, suffer fools lightly. If you didn't produce for her and were competent and got the job done, she just suggested you find someplace else to work, because she wanted people that were committed, dedicated, and got things done. So he's got that training. So we're really looking forward to his coming in. He doesn't officially take office until Monday, the 20th, but he's been down since, I think, Tuesday or Wednesday of this week, meeting with different groups, going around to different folks, introducing himself, getting to know what the city is. And I was supposed to meet him out to do a radio interview show this morning. I said, "We want me to pick you up and take you out there?" He said, "No, I'll find it. I got to learn my way around the city." And he beat me out there. So, but we're excited about him coming on board.
Well, I'm going to ask you also about our brave men and women firefighters,
right,
and also police officers. What's going on with them?
Well, they do a great job, and we're proud of them, and we're working with them. We're beginning the process now. The police contract that they're currently operating under expires next year, so we're in the early stages of beginning to negotiate a new contract. And then I think the fire contract is the following year. And so, they understand our situation from a financial standpoint about what monies we have and we don't have. And then, of course, all of us are kind of sitting back on pins and needles, not knowing what the legislature is going to do to us. And they really have just kind of declared war on cities and counties. There's a small group up there that what they're trying to do is deflect the failure of the legislature to deal with school finance. And if you look on your tax bill, when you get it in October, over 50% of your combined tax bill is school district taxes. But they make cities and counties the scapegoats as being the heavy taxers. But it's a school. But school is a state's responsibility. But they're making it look like it's the county and the cities that are overtaxing people, and so they're doing everything they can to strip us of authority, limit what we can do. But that they can boast all they want. We're doing that. But if they can't control expenses, that's going to be a real challenge for us.
Yes, sir.
And they can't. They don't control expenses, and roads and infrastructure cost money. And so, and you've got contracts that you've got to obligate that, I think the fire and the police union contracts normally are 5 years. So, I mean, whatever they committed 4 or 5 years ago, you've got to be able to meet it. And so if they put a cap on us that says, and the word I'm getting is that they're saying it's a 3.5% cap. Well, if you've got a contract that says next year you pay this increase in the salaries based on the contract, and then you've got all the other things that you've got to deal with in the city in terms of your streets, in terms of your playgrounds, your parks, your senior services, Meals on Wheels, and all these other things, public swimming pools. And if you exceed that 3.5%, then they add another burden. One, it's a mandatory election, and two, those elections cost anywhere $175,000 to $200,000. So they're just adding an expense to get your budget approved. And so it's just crazy what they're doing up there. Hopefully the sine die will come pretty quick.
Well, we've got about a minute left, but I always like to tell people lawyers talk too much, and it's true. But I'd like for you to address our viewers, not only on TV. A lot of people are going to social media, and I want you to have this as our gift. We'll send you a link, and you can put it on all your social media, on your webpage, everywhere, so we can reach people. And in this last minute or two we have left, what would you like to tell not just the registered voters out there, but everybody that needs to register and is willing and able to get people to take them to vote? What would you like to tell those people about your vision for Corpus Christi as mayor and the future of Corpus Christi?
Well, one, they need to participate. Don't just sit back and let other people make decisions for you. You need to participate. You don't have to run for office or don't have to be an elected official, but voting, getting involved in the community, whether it's through your church or through committees and commissions that the city has or the county has, but to get involved, know what's going on. The future, I think, is the brightest it's ever been for Corpus Christi. I mean, with the Port of Corpus Christi, the businesses that they're dealing with and the expansion because of the Eagle Ford Shale and what's going on in the Permian Basin, our potential is unlimited, and the jobs are coming, and they're good jobs. Pay attention to education. Encourage your children and your grandchildren to get their education and pursue that education. Doesn't have to be a 4-year college education. They can get lots of good technical training. Many of these plants that are coming in here, they will train you to do what you need to do to make that successful. And they're paying, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 right off the bat in many cases. And so those are good paying jobs, and you can do a lot with that. For the young people, I would make one suggestion to them. You may be able to pass a geology test, a geometry test, a physics test, but if you can't pass a drug test, you're not going to get a job. Stay away from drugs. Make right decisions in your early life, and that will pay dividends for the rest of your life. With everything we've got going, I think our future is bright. We've got jobs here. We've got more jobs than we have people to fill them right now, and that's a good thing. And we're trying to create more jobs so that these people can find some jobs and stay here. I've got 5 kids. 3 of them live here. 2 of them, one in Spring, Texas, and my daughter's in Jacksonville, North Carolina. She married a Cobra pilot in the Marines, so they got to go where the Marines tell them to go. But We want our kids to be able to stay here if they want to. If they want to venture out and go somewhere else, that's fine. But it ought not to be there's nothing here, they've got to move. We want them to say, I've got an opportunity here in Corpus Christi, and I think I'm going to stay because it's appealing. I mean, you know, money's not the number one priority. You know, you can make a living and you make a good living, but at the same time, hey, in 30 minutes when you get off work, you can be out here sailing, you can be out here sailboarding, you can be fishing, you can be hunting. I mean, Corpus Christi is a great place to be. And, you know, like I said, I was born here and I love it. And I'd encourage people to take advantage of everything they have. And one of the interesting things people tell us, well, there's just nothing to do in Corpus Christi. Well, I tell you, if you saw my calendar, if you knew there's something to do all the time. Last night I had 3 events I was supposed to be at the same time. There's things to do all over this city, and most of them are open to the public. That if you just take advantage of the opportunities, there is a lot to do in Corpus Christi, and a lot of fun things to do in Corpus Christi. And you get to meet a lot of good people like you and David, and Corpus just got a bunch of good folks. There's a couple of old cranks out there, but we've got a lot of good folks in our city, and I think all of them are committed to doing better. The council is very dedicated to improving Corpus Christi and moving us forward.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Mayor Joe McComb has taken time out of his calendar to join us, and I hope that this helps educate the public, and I hope we've gotten to know him a little bit better. I want to thank Carlos Lopez. I want to thank David Mendez for always appreciating the value of this show and bringing it to the public in order to educate them about getting involved. And remember, register to vote. If you don't register, you can't complain afterward who your leaders are. And also get involved and let people know your leaders do listen. Put things in writing and call and just stay involved. And remember that we are here for you. Thank you all, and God bless.